Alright, today's project. We are doing the rear track bars on my 2014 Ford Expedition. I went to have an alignment done after I got the new tires, and the inner bushings were worn out on these, so that's what was causing my tires to wear unevenly. So we can dig right into it here. These Hercules Terra Tracks, the Cross V all weathers, good tire. Got nothing but good stuff to say about them so far. They ride great, really good wet traction. So first thing, we take our lugs off. I've already took some of this apart to speed up the process of this video, but either way, 21 socket, aluminum rims sometimes tend to stick to a steel rotor, so a little kick that breaks them free. Right now would be a good time to inspect your rotor and your brakes to make sure that there's no excessive wear or play in any items. Rotor surface looks good, plenty of meat on the pads. Usually if I'm in somewhere working on something like this and I have to take the caliper off or anything of that nature, I will grease the sliders and the slider pins so you know that everything is copacetic. Now, this is our track bar here, 21 socket is for your outer edge. A half-inch impact is worth its weight in gold when you're doing anything. Now I went ahead and there is a small bracket right here that holds this line in place. It's that bracket right there. It's got a 10mm bolt. You're going to want to take that out so that you can use your impact on the inner side of that track bar. Set that bolt off where we won't lose it. There's a little tang that goes up into the frame there. We can move that out of the way. That gives us room for the inner bolt, which was, I got an 1 1/16 socket, short socket. 27 also works for it as well. And I've removed that with my impact. I removed that bracket so I could get my large framed impact in there and get that busted loose. Let's get a good shot of this here because I'm just talking and not showing. So yeah, like I said, that way I can get my impact in there. We moved that bracket out of the way, busted that loose. The nut is got a plate welded to it, so you don't really have to use a backup wrench for the nut. That makes it pretty handy. That way, you know, you got something to hold on to, and plus the tangs will hit the frame and stop. So we've got that process figured out. Slider bolt out. And I'm going to go ahead and remove this little plate. I'm assuming that is for adjustment. So those little tangs sit inside two holes there. That bracket has an oblong hole in it, both sides. So this here is going to keep your adjustment on your bolt where you want it to be. I'm going to grab a hammer right quick. Okay, seeing how I'm not going to reuse this track bar, I'll just use a hammer to pop it out with from the knuckle on the hub. Sometimes a little tap on the knuckle will draw it loose. But either way, like I said, I'm not reusing it, so we can give it a tap from this end. And that'll pop it right out. Have to keep some pressure on it this way to get that nut back off because it's just wanting to spin in the socket. Now, as far as that goes, looks like we got to finagle it a little bit out and up. I just pulled on our knuckle out a little bit, slide it on up. I live in the Midwest, as you can see, Rust Belt, so technically this came apart really nice. That's about how you're going to want it to come apart. Hoping the other side's worse than this side, because this side doesn't look crazy bad, but it's definitely worn out a bit. This is our new part. We've got bushing, looks to be maybe a little heavier. Also looks like it could be a pressed fit bushing that if you wanted to, you could just press that out and go back in with it. But they're cheap enough that, like I said, I live in the Rust Belt, so getting that to just push out of there and push another one in is not as easy said, or not as easy done as said. La la la. Not as easy done as said. I'm gonna grab my grease gun real quick. It's got a needle bearing greaser on it, and we're gonna slap a little extra grease down in that boot. I'll give you a little show of that. Okay, so got my grease gun. It has got needle bearing greaser. You know, it's a fine tip point that you can sneak in behind these bushings, or behind the boots, I apologize, and get a little extra grease put in here. You don't want a whole lot of grease, but it's not moving necessarily a moving part, so a bit of extra grease in there is not going to hurt anything. We're not going to get crazy with it. We're just going to get enough in there that I feel is going to be helpful. So we'll push the boot in a little bit. Get her to bypass. Nice and easy, couple bumps. We'll go to this other side. Couple bumps, nice and easy. And there you go. Don't need a whole lot in there, but we definitely like to have a little in there. Wipe our excess off. Okay, so now we're gonna just get it back in the way we took it out. We'll run it above, come below, slide it in our knuckle, and a couple of jerks on it, and we're back in place. Now we will get our alignment tab back to where we want it, like so. Get our bolt lined up. Little bolt socket extension usually work pretty good to line her up. Maybe. Supposed to be a bit of a pain, so we will take the act right tool and get her to act right. There is a little bit of adjustment in this, like I said, so you gotta finagle it. I'll work on that off camera so this doesn't draw out on us. Okay, that took a little working around. We got her in there. So now I like to, this is probably not going to come out. I'm going to say probably because it's got an alignment bracket and this has got the tangs on it and whatnot, and there's also a locking nut, but it's being reused, so I like to put a little blue Loctite, little thread retaining compound in here. Doesn't take a lot, just a little, if I can get it to come out. There we go. Doesn't take a whole lot, but it's just a little reassurance on my end of life that we won't have anything work its way loose. So now that we've got that started, we'll go ahead and make sure that we get this tapered in. And this is like a ball joint or tie rod end. You know, it's got a tapered fit. So we're connected on both ends. Now I'm going to go ahead and give it a little tightness and just keep working it a little bit to make sure that we are acquiring what we want. Like I said, you don't need a backup wrench. Them tangs, they're going to press against the frame on the back side. You can hold that if you'd like to align it a little bit with that as well. And then we'll give this end a little bit. All right. So we're going to have to switch gears a little bit. She doesn't want to stop spinning. You don't want to spin it too much because it'll wear out your cup. So at the end of the fitting, we've got somewhere where we can put a wrench on. So we're going to figure out what we can do wrench wise here to begin torquing that down, and then we can hammer on it. So of course my larger wrench set is out at my farm, but we've got our Spanish socket wrench right here with us, aka adjustable wrench. So I've got the adjustable wrench on the nut and then a 10mm socket on our end of that fitting. So this is in the loosening position to hold it as you're tightening while you're working away from it. Okay, now we've got her tightened down to where it is on the tapered, the larger side of the tapered fitting, And the knuckle, it's going to go ahead. You can use your impact to draw it in the rest of the way. Okay, so it's a tapered fitting. I'm sure that there's a torque spec. I am using the 1/2-inch Milwaukee torque spec, which means tight is tight. So as far as that goes, we're just gonna put faith in the good Lord that that's gonna stay on there. And basically that's pretty much about all there is to replacing these. Super simple and straightforward. Ain't nothing to do but just get to her. I'm gonna tighten down that back bolt, torque spec Milwaukee 1/2-inch, and then we're gonna stick the bracket back on there with that 10mm bolt. And those are gonna be a little less. We're gonna go with a 3/8 torque spec. And after that, all there is left to do is to throw on the tire and torque down them lug nuts, and that is the track bar. So I will repeat for the opposite side on the vehicle, and that should be all you need to know. If you've got any questions, just give me a comment. If you have anything that you would like to see me do on a vehicle, just shoot me a holler and we'll see if we can make it happen. I've got some other things that I'm going to be working on here in the near future. I've got my F-150 here, 94 F-150 four-wheel drive. It's on a 6-inch lift. It tends to get a little death wobble because the drop brackets loosen up, so I'm going to do a video on upgrading bolts and just some minor things that you can do to your lift to increase the longevity and just keep everything safe. So beyond that, today, this is the end of my project. We'll go ahead and throw a part number up here for you. And I ordered these from Rock Auto. I'm not sponsored by them, but they give you a good option price wise and quality wise that you can go through and get inside of your budget and, you know, order the parts that you need, budget friendly, or you go for your high dollar quality. And it's super simple. And they also send you a sweet magnet sticker every order. I'll have to get a little short video of my fridge that I have completely full of those stickers. But y'all have a blessed, wonderful day, and hopefully I haven't drawn this out too far. If you could, comment, subscribe, give me a like. Have a wonderful day.